Hello, everyone. Welcome back to, what is this, Week 4 of Provoking Conversations. Today is May 6th, the year of our Lord 2020.
Our Lord.
Today is the follow-up episode to last week, which was where we talked about what's holding us back, right? And we had a really long and really good conversation about that topic in particular. I think we both kind of took a lot away from that conversation, and that kind of explains our 3-hour follow-up afterwards with just ourselves. But today we're doing part 2, where we're going to talk about how we choose to embrace who we are, how to embrace just being you. If you listen to the first part, you probably think that, oh, this is probably something that's kind of difficult for them, and it's really difficult for a lot of people. So I'm kind of interested to hear where Yaid here takes it. And that's all I got for this intro. I don't know if you got anything else before we get going.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to whoever decides to come on by and listen to these conversations. I really enjoy having them. And then also to mention that it is Mr. Irvin's birthday today. He finally grew up to be a whole 23 years old and join us old heads at 23. So happy birthday.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Like Yaid said, we do appreciate you guys for the few or how many ever of you come and listen to us just kind of ramble and speak on our experiences. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave us a like. If you're liking what you're hearing, go ahead and leave us comments. We're more than willing to reply to that. And we'd like to connect with other people as well. And then if you like it, share with other people who might enjoy the message as well. And without further ado, we can get going. Yaid wants to start us off, so go ahead.
Absolutely. So how does one fully embrace themselves? I think that's personally a really good question because I believe the first place that we really need to go is who are you in this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say in this moment, which is not something that I usually hear people talk about, is because we have a very large tendency of describing us based on historical evidence and historical facts and what we've been like before. And we tend to not really acknowledge always the changes that we've made and who we have become, and it also can be very easy to describe yourself in the way that the people around you recognize you as,
Yeah.
So if you have a particular nickname or whatever, it's something that can kind of hold you back, and that is something that, people can carry with them, something like that. So to give an example, when I was in middle school, I was a really big reader. Right around 6th grade, I became a huge reader. I was reading all the time. And then in 7th grade, I was still reading. 8th grade, I started kind of tapering it off a little bit. And then by 9th and 10th, I was reading occasionally if I had good books of the same series that I was following, or I just found a good book, and I just consumed it very, very fast. And then in college, people would ask me, it's hey, what do you like to do in your free time? It's oh, I like to read books, knowing damn well that I haven't touched a book in years. And it made me think about it, because it's how do you fully embrace yourself without truly taking the time to acknowledge who you are in this moment, right? And so personally for me, the person that I am in this moment is somebody who genuinely enjoys productive conversations with others, where we can discuss things like our weaknesses and our strengths, and be able to share life stories and just share those experiences and hear other people's experiences and kind of see what has molded them into the person that they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely one of my passions. Reading for sure now, because I've definitely started reading again, and that's something that I genuinely enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Food, I love food. I love making food, especially. I
Very
really
fun.
enjoy cooking. Um, and then I enjoy going out to restaurants. I enjoy doing all sorts of kind of things. And the things that I don't do as much as I used to,
Mm-hmm.
um, drink alcohol every weekend or go out to the bars, right? That's not something that I do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That I was definitely associated with in the past, right? I was one of the go-to dudes for that, and not something I really do a lot. Also, doing just intense workouts all the time. That's
Mm-hmm.
something that I've definitely kind of like left behind a little bit, and not particularly because I don't want to do it. It's just I haven't quite figured out a good routine where
Mm-hmm.
I'm not wasting like a 30 minutes, an hour, like, or maybe more every day just to make that stop in my, travels, because I don't have a car anymore, and transit actually takes me a while to get places. So that's another thing. And I just think it's important to really, really consider that as you are discovering what it means to fully embrace yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because by defining who you are in this moment, and then the next part, which for me, what felt right was having identified the characteristics of the things that hold you back, which is why I think we were both on the same thought pattern where
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to make this a two-part thing, because they kind of build each other up,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of something we discussed in the last question, and something that I definitely learned a lot from, and being able to
Mm-hmm.
identify some of the things that have kind of been more detrimental than good for me,
Mm-hmm.
and so that is one thing. But then also being able to identify the qualities that you have that are capable of producing like good in the world, or in good in the people around you, and identifying that as well, because you're not just an evil person that can only do bad things, right? Like you're also capable of doing great things, phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
things, and being a support. And so being able to identify some of those, which I think is very important. So I know we've also talked about that too, in terms of what are the things we build our self-esteem around, going
Mm-hmm.
back to 2 episodes ago. And um, like, for example, for me, just being a servant leader, right? Being able
Mm-hmm.
to help other people, that's some of the most rewarding work that I think I can do. And also another one is allowing myself to grow, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because as I was writing this stuff down, I was realizing that in the past there was always something getting in the way between me and my growth, right? So
Mm-hmm.
something bad would happen, and I would be like, I need to change.
Yeah.
But then I would feel like, oh, but I can't change because not everybody expects me to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would get lazy, or I would be insecure and be like, I'm not capable of changing. I don't
Yeah.
have that kind of self-esteem to be that person that
Mm-hmm.
I imagine myself as somebody who could be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was just an ego thing. Maybe I didn't want to fix it. Maybe it was fun doing whatever it was I was doing. And those were all kind of like I guess mental blocks that prevented me from truly incorporating my growth, and just really saying like, yeah, you know what, I fucked up, and I want to get better because of it, and truly making the steps to become better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I definitely said, yeah, I'm gonna do better, but then I didn't. I didn't improve. I didn't try to improve. And so I think it's all of those things to really take into account, so you can begin to build the idea of, okay, where do I want to take this?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I want to be, or who do I want to become?
Mm-hmm.
And and so I guess, yeah, this kind of like concludes my portion, because it's, you have to identify who you are in this moment, and see what's changed in your life and what hasn't changed, being able to see both sides, being able to identify the good things and the bad things that you're capable of doing. And then just seeing where you want to take all of this, right? Having a direction, having a purpose. And that all kind of, I encapsulate that all in like, you need to embrace that, just that, all that stuff together, that's a whole person, that's a whole you know what I mean? And it's important that, you're able to accept all of these parts of you, because if you refuse to accept something or you neglect it, like it sneaks up on you, in one way or another. It's, yeah, you have to live this balanced life with all these different, the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the social, there's all of these different kind of like balances in your life that need to be equilibrated. And as soon as you start neglecting something, like, it's super easy to just have life like come crashing down on you, right? Because your foundation's getting weak. And when a foundation is weak, it's not gonna, help you out. So I feel like I'm starting to ramble. So I'm gonna stop right there. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, because I felt like I had this really structured. So I might have left something out, but hey.
All right, it's part of the show. I really like how you hit on the fact that we usually define ourselves by our past, or we tend to like categorize ourselves based on just old things, basically, that we don't check to see if those are still relevant or not. I think that's a really good point, because I feel like you're right. Whenever someone asks you like what do you like to do or stuff like that, you just kind of rely on whatever answer you've given before, right? You don't think about like, what do I actually like doing? Like, that's too much work to think of that right now. Let me just say what I've always said, right? We're kind of just creatures of habit in that way.
Yeah, maybe you're insecure too. That's another part.
True. Maybe I'm just lazy. I don't know.
Maybe I just don't do anything at all.
But yeah, it's a hard concept to kind of embrace yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it is exactly as the same as self-love. Like, I think self-love is part of embracing yourself, but I don't think it's the whole picture. I think it's kind of a bigger, there's more components to that than just having self-love. I think.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I was curious if you could define like what your definition of self-love is from your perspective, and then break down, I guess, maybe you were going to get to that point here in a second. I don't know. I kind of jumped the gun a
I
little
don't
bit.
know. I'm kind of just shooting from the hip here, as I like to do with these. Well, last week we discussed, we both came to the same broad conclusion of kind of our inability to have self-love, right? And we kind of defined that as just appreciation for the person that we are, and kind of allowing ourselves to appreciate ourselves, I guess. It's kind of a, maybe, I guess, if but I think with embracing yourself, you have to embrace all of you, right? It's not just the good things, right? You embrace your flaws basically just as much as your triumphs, in order to build a better version of yourself. Because, go ahead.
I really like where you're taking this, right? I think it's really important. However, when I think of self-love, I guess the way that I choose to imagine self-love is, so for me in my head, it's almost very synonymous to like embracing oneself, because you can love something but desire it to change, you can love something and nurture it, but not have it be the type of love that wants to keep you in the same place, like an over loving mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if a mother truly loves you, they want you to suffer a little bit so that you can experience life and understand what it's like, and you can appreciate like the good things as well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's from my perspective. You know what I mean? But I definitely think that we're kind of hitting the same thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
just hard to define like what this means, because it can be kind of subjective. But in my opinion, like, yeah, just seeing, just love doesn't necessarily mean you're okay with the way things are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Just
I guess I guess my definition of self-love is influenced a lot by the way it's marketed to us in today's society. I think that's what's
absolutely,
affect. That's why I don't have it as synonymous to that.
yeah.
Um,
It's interesting. Like, how do you perceive the way I guess society and people have sold you that concept?
I think you guys
Like, how
sold
do
me
you,
that concept as you like who you are now and you kind of keep it that way. And maybe you disagree. I don't know if you
yeah.
would say
Oh
that
no.
that's how it is portrayed.
I mean, I think that's fair. The whole like body shaming movement. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to give like a perspective or anything like this. So I hope you guys take what I say with a grain of salt. But um, it's kind of my fundamental belief that, like, you create the person that you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, like, I don't want to die before I'm capable of seeing who I can become.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already been severely overweight. I was obese as a child. And seeing what happens, because they would call me bola de cebo in Mexico. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
messed up.
I was a little chunky. I was a little chunky dude, and that's how they would bully me. They'd say that shit to me,
Yeah.
and it would get in my head, bro. Like, how would you feel if you got called that shit, man? Because in Spanish it hurts even more, and especially in Mexico, like, not a lot of people are fat, so it's you stand out even more, and you're more of a target. Um, but I digress. And for me, I want to have that self honesty. So my
Mm-hmm.
love comes with a little bit of self honesty, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least the love now, because before it was just like, I would get told, um, and it was also like one of the things that I felt like religion was like would tell me too. At least that's the message I felt like I was picking up for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Was this idea that, yeah, you're fucked up, but it this life doesn't really matter anyway. So just kind of accept that you're fucked up and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah, you're perfect the way you are. And me deep inside now being extremely confused, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm perfect the way I am, and I want to change, but you're telling me it's almost okay to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I should stay like this.
Mm-hmm.
Even though every part of my being is like, dude,
You gotta
don't do it.
change
Don't eat another. Yeah, don't eat another Tyson chicken wing, son.
that. You don't
you
need
don't.
it.
You don't. Just, you don't need that pizza roll, man. All right. And so I definitely agree with you on that one, though, man. I
Mm-hmm.
think some of the concept of what it means to love yourself has been kind of like, oh yeah, like, we don't want to hurt your feelings, so it's okay that you are the way that you are, and um, it's okay. We love you the way you are. You're perfect. And I just, you know, I feel like there's that little voice inside your head that knows when you're being lied to and knows when
Mm-hmm.
you're lying to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can drown it out, right? Because we're capable of overriding any like, voice in our heads. But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I kind of talked a lot.
No, it's okay. Um, yeah, I think that's why I have such a sour like feeling towards that definition in general.
Hmm.
Because I think we're both kind of just more old school into, kind of give it to me straight. Like I think part of loving myself and embracing myself is having to be real with myself. You were kind of saying on that honesty part, and I think we kind of overdo it at times on how real we are with ourselves, and
Yeah, yeah.
which is where the issues come. But yeah, just the over protection of one's own feelings, I feel like can be just as detrimental, if not more, than being more of a tough love type of person. Like whenever somebody says like the things they were saying, like, oh, you're perfect, or oh, don't worry about it, you're fine, or whatever, like it automatically makes me upset. Like it's like that's not what I want to hear. Because that's not the environment that I thrive under, right?
I need stress. I need
Yeah,
pressure.
I exactly. Um, and yeah, does that pressure make me cave in sometimes? Sure, but I learn a lot more from that than just getting smoke blown up my ass the whole time. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and it just makes me not trust in the people that are willing to say that to me, you know?
hmm
Um, like, yeah, it's gonna hurt when you tell me your honest opinion and your honest thoughts, but at the same time, I think it's what will allow me to grow, you know? Because
hmm
in order for you to grow, the person that you are has to die, and the next person has to come up. You know what I mean? It's just
hmm
a bunch of series of deaths of the person that you are, and it sucks. It hurts. It's painful, right? That's why like getting into any gym routine sucks. That's why starting like a reading ritual. That's why it sucks. That's why waking up at 5 a.m. if you've always woken up at 9 a.m.
hmm
sucks, right? Because it's that that version of you that would wake up at 9 has to die so that the version of you that wakes up at 5 can, thrive. You know what I'm
hmm
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I definitely agree with that.
And like I always see, like coddling someone is the biggest mistake you could do for someone, right? Like that's the biggest disfavor that you could do to someone. And I say that because it's so easy to do that and for it to be good in the short term, right? And it's so hard to
Yeah.
be honest with them, but it'll be so much better in the long term. And it's whether you can see that going forward. And I think that's why I've always loved sports so much, and why I really enjoy coaching. Because while we're working towards a specific goal athletically, there's a lot of things that you could take for your life. And it teaches people how to take constructive criticism, which is I think it's a it's a skill that's not very well developed nowadays, I think. Um,
Hmm.
so that's why when you get to practice it in sports, it kind of helps you be able to practice that outside in the real world.
Yeah. I think if you're able to portray it in a way that they can understand it
hmm
and see the connection, it helps a lot. And it kind of goes back to this concept. Well, at least I feel like you're getting to this concept of like Jocko's extreme ownership,
hmm
and just accepting every single part of whatever you're doing
hmm
of your life. And that's an easy one to just accept extreme ownership over, because then you can't really make excuses when you're taking extreme ownership of your life. You know what I mean?
hmm
Because it's like it's your life. Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to complain and say that, oh, somebody did this to me and that's why I'm not successful? Or this happened and it was just a bunch of circumstances that put me in that situation and now I'm not successful,
hmm
And like, I get it. Like there's plenty of people that fail,
hmm
and there's plenty of people that have a pretty shitty run about them. And there's plenty of people that start off in a very, very awful place. You know what I'm saying? Um,
hmm
but it's not it's not where you necessarily have to stay.
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think everybody, like somewhere deep inside themselves, like they know that they don't have to stay here.
Yeah, but it's easier.
But growth hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, but it's a lot easier to stay in the shade, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to stay in the shade because it's comfortable. You know, we live
Mm-hmm.
a comfortable life, man. Like it's. You remember the last time your AC broke?
Yes.
Yeah, you do remember the last time your AC broke? Yeah. I mean, there's people that don't even have AC in this world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's people that are still living off $1 a day, and we'll go out and buy $5 Starbucks coffee daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's. I mean, yeah. I mean, shit. I'm soft too. Look at what I'm wearing, man. You know what I mean? Like this. I love this shirt. It has little flowers on it. But you know, I accept the fact that I live a privileged life.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean, like David Goggins says, that I have to be civilized. You know, I'm grateful for what I've had, and I'm grateful for what I have, but I also had to work for it because this wasn't guaranteed to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this wasn't guaranteed to me at all. And I'm very grateful for the circumstances that allowed me to get to where I am, because it does come with a little bit of luck, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like a little algebra equation too. It's preparation plus opportunity equals success, right?
Yep.
Because if you're determined about growing yourself and creating a better version of yourself, and you continue to grind at that, right? You
Mm-hmm.
continue to make that a priority. It's only a matter of time before you get an opportunity that is matched to the level of who you are as a person, and it
Mm-hmm.
allows you to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you might have to fail like 10,000 times before you get there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a science.
Yeah.
It's just what's the variable, right? Something that might happen, and um, that's something that I feel like I can understand now more than ever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
And I think like my favorite way to embrace who I am and just being me is to challenge myself, right? Put myself in situations of high stress.
Today,
Like I enjoy physical challenges, right? And I think that's the ones that I lean towards the most because that's where the ones where I'm able to learn the most from myself, right? It's like you you think you're a badass, well, can you get through this, right? It's like, well, you got through that, can you get through this next thing, right? And just it pushes you to reach into those pockets of you that you don't know are there, right?
yeah.
And it kind of makes you hone in on everything that you know about yourself to get through something like that. Like today,
Yeah.
for example, as we did the 75 challenge, which is a challenge I created to honor a friend of mine who passed away last year, who was a big inspiration in my life. And that challenge was brutal. On paper, it don't seem that hard, but doing it was a whole different ball game. And like we were talking about before we went on, just like the different moments that we had where we had to like kind of strap it in and be like, all right, that's all you got. I was like, or are you gonna push yourself more, right? And that's kind of where you get that 1% better, right? They always talk about just get 1% better each day, and eventually you'll see where you can end up. And so I think
Yeah.
that's like my favorite one, right? My way to embrace myself is to put myself outside of my comfort zone, as far as I can, and then see if I can make my way back.
Yeah. I think that's a very important. I think that's a really good observation too. Um, I don't know, something about doing physical challenges is just it's a different game, dude. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's because for me, it's just me in my head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because on the run, I remember on my way back, I was I think I was like above mile 5, so I still had 2.5 miles to go for the 7.5, and I started doing the David Goggins, like reaching into the cookie jar
Mm-hmm.
and pulling out all my past successes, and using that to give me confidence that I could, keep going. Because, dude, I wanted to stop so bad, dude. I was I was able to convince myself to keep going. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't stop to walk once, which which meant a lot to me because it's the first time I ran 7.5 miles in my life. And dude, I mean, there were a couple of times where I felt like I was barely moving, dude. I felt like I was basically walking in place because my legs were moving so slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to keep jogging, I tried to keep continuing to go forward. And that was a very significant moment for me because I'm always so quick to be like, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not moving my legs fast enough. I'm not moving my arms fast enough. I'm not, my mentality isn't there. I'm so quick to tear myself down when I'm in these moments
Mm-hmm.
that eventually, like, I got to stop because, it's like too negative. I'm tearing myself down too much. You know what I mean? It's not constructive. It's not building me up.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really enjoyed about going into the cookie jar and, picking up the things that I had done in the past that I know I had done, and that I worked hard to get to those places.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it gave me like a different kind of energy. It solidified in the fact that I'm capable of taking on this challenge. You know what I mean? And that felt like such a more positive headspace as I was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the run felt like pretty, like I felt really good, like during the run, mentally, not physically. Physically, I was destroyed.
Yeah.
And mentally, I was good up until I got into the elevator to come up into my apartment, and then I was like, just hold it together until you get home. And then that was that. But yeah, dude, I think something about the physical challenges. I mean, I can't say I don't enjoy mental challenges.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different kind of beast, you know. Like with school,
Mm-hmm.
like school's a different kind of monster, man. Because like at most, like a workout's gonna last 1 to 2 hours. Maybe 3 if you're a monster. Maybe 4 if you're like Ray Lewis. But um, usually at some point it will end, and it will end before the day is over.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, did I survive or not?
Mm-hmm.
Did I bring the game or not? But then you extend that challenge out for 16 weeks in college, and you're just like, yeah, see, I don't know if I can be at this level for 16 weeks, right? At least that was my perspective. That's something that we were talking about before, um, which is like external versus internal pressure. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
No,
Like,
for sure.
um, you know, like,
I think my proudest moments for me is typically when I can overcome like a physical challenge, right? When I'm the most happiest with myself, it's when
mm,
I'm like able to get through something like that. And I think it's just like the aspect of having to bring your body, mind, and soul all together to get kind of past it, um,
yeah,
just makes it mean that much more. Um, but like you said, like having to play the long game when it comes to like school and stuff, it's a different animal, like a different beast, because it's not like can you keep yourself motivated and or keep yourself driven and performing at a high level, not for 3 hours, but for 16 weeks, you know,
and 4 years after
four
that,
years.
16-week sets.
Most of the time, no.
No.
That's why we can start off pretty well, and then after that, just kind of a we'll see what happens type of thing.
And it makes me, I don't know, that I'm very intrigued by that.
Hmm.
I'm very intrigued, and I'm gonna challenge myself because I just started this new module. So I got 8 weeks.
Hmm.
I got my midterms in 3.5 already. Wow, that's crazy. Funny, we just literally started the module and it's already midterms in 3.5 weeks. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have finals in 8 weeks, well 7.5. And I'm curious because, even with this module thing, it'll only be in 16 weeks. Like the first 2 weeks, I'm all right, but even by the second week, I'm starting to like drop off, maybe like 10%. And
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of continues to go, you know what I mean? And so I'm curious if, I can kind of, internally motivate, put that pressure on myself to be great because I know I can do it. And also because like I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've always kind of like I've sometimes, been kind of insecure in me believing that I'm the dude who's capable of doing that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, I don't like viewing that. It makes my ego feel weird
Mm-hmm.
because my ego really gets off on me depreciating myself apparently. And, and so I've always felt super strange saying that, oh yeah, I'm confident enough to do it. I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't usually speak up in class and all that stuff. And, um, but just being able to show that I have it within myself to be able to do something like this, and play at a level that's elevated enough for me to consider it greater than I've ever been,
Mm-hmm.
an improvement. And so, I mean, that's going to be a personal challenge of mine
Mm-hmm.
for the next couple of weeks, but I'll definitely let you know how it goes because I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what happens.
No, for sure. And like, I don't know why I just made this realization now, but if I could look at a semester more as a sprint, and most people say it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? But I think about it as like 100, 200 meter race, right? The people that win those races aren't the people who are the fastest, it's who deteriorates the slowest, right? That's how you win races. And that makes me think like, that's who can perform at their highest level with the slowest drop off basically, right? And like if I approach each day that way, right? Or each hour that way and kind of broke it down more into, all right, let's see, let's try to give my full effort here, right? And as soon as I start tapering off, kind of start jotting that down, right? Throughout my weeks and stuff, and then see, all right, how can I improve it to get just 30 minutes better, right? And then, or 10 minutes longer, right? And then eventually build from that to be able to be more consistent. Because I think that's my issue, right? Like I'm just so inconsistent that if I was just able to picture things in more short spurts and short high energy spurts and not allowing the depreciation to happen as much, how much better I
Yeah,
could perform, I guess.
absolutely. You know, I think, I think that's a brilliant idea. I do this thing where I write down the very minimum things I have to get done for the day. So I use kind of like the Tim Ferriss method, I guess I could call it, where you write down 3 important things you need to get done for the day, and then you
Mm-hmm.
circle your most important one, and you dedicate 3 hours first thing in the day to that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to do any other thing. And then the thing that has helped me the most, man, I'm not gonna lie, dude, it's using something called like vomit pages,
Mm-hmm.
where you just take all this stuff in here, man, and you just like bleh, just toss it on the page. And dude, it has helped me so much just to like that in combination with these videos, man, because some of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that we've been talking about has been going through my mind for such a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and now I don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
and it's been something that's been for me, very therapeutic personally.
Yeah.
But these pages even help with like, maybe some like self-doubt that creeps up, or, um, maybe like that laziness side of you is like, dude, you could be playing video games, or, whatever it is. And, it all kind of starts with just choosing the victories you need to have during the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, building in things that you care about during the day as well. You can kind of, switch off between the two of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, just having a plan and executing it, man, I think is something that's very important. And for me personally, because I've always been really good about making the plan, but then I don't execute. I
Yeah.
lack on the execution part every time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna see how this goes, man. Because I don't know, man. I feel very upbeat. Maybe it's like the fact that like summer's coming around, or maybe it's like been all these conversations that we've had. But I've personally been feeling really confident and really, um, it's really clear, man.
Mm-hmm.
Really clear, and it's something that I really enjoy personally.
For sure.
Yeah, dude. What? So, what do you think about this pressure thing that I was telling you about earlier? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that outside pressure gets to you to the point that you just don't want to do anything anymore? Like, what do you think holds you back from? Um, because you said consistency,
Mm-hmm.
and I get consistency, but consistency also can vary a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, it seems to vary significantly. So I don't know. I mean, you know your patterns probably better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's always kind of been the same. Where I start going up, I start kind of like up here, and then I slowly start tapering down. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like a fairly consistent kind of performance. And sometimes like the angle at which I decrease varies, right, depending on how much work I put in at the front, that I'm just able to kind of like glide for the rest of it. But
Mm-hmm. I think for me, like, I have a difficult time being consistent in keeping my priorities where they need to be. Not having enough self control, I don't know, enough meaning behind something for me to want to keep it a priority. And I mean, at least sticking with it as far as school goes, right? Like I always start off well because it's like, oh, it's what I should do, right? And I know that 16 weeks in, I'll be a lot more thankful if I started off well and like did well throughout, than started down here to try to build all the way back up. Um, but as I go throughout the semester, I just fail to keep that as a priority of mine because I just lose interest because so much of what I learn is just garbage that it's very
Facts.
difficult. Like I definitely run on. I had to have a good meaning and a good reason to have to do something. So when you just tell me I have to do something because I have to do it, it doesn't fly very well with my brain. So it fails to keep it as a priority, and that's probably my most inner struggle is just being able to keep those priorities where they
Doing
need
that
to
busy
be.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that heavily, dude. Um, it always sucks because I can always tell the difference between a professor I'm willing to work hard for,
Mm-hmm.
and a professor that I'm not willing to work hard for. And that can be a bit of a factor, but at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is like I eventually begin to lose priorities. And I'm trying to view it from this angle of like the pressure, right? I
Mm-hmm.
start to lose that internal motivation. I start to lose that internal pressure of me doing the thing that is going to make me great with respect to whatever it is I'm focusing on,
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of me doing it, not for the sake of somebody else telling me to do it, or for the sake of any of these other things, or any of the circumstances that are, oh, like I didn't get enough sleep last night, I can't do this. Or,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I got this workout I want to go do instead, so I'm gonna go do that, and then hopefully I have some energy left over to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um and I think it makes sense to me. I think it's true because because that external pressure from everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
it helps, because it's like, oh yeah, my mom wants me to do well. I need to do
Yeah.
this because it's going to help me get into the next step of my life, right? I need to do it for that. I need to do it because I want to graduate with a good GPA, so I need to do it for that. But none of those things inherently address the fact that you should do something that is good for you because you genuinely want to fucking do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For you to just grow as a person, and to show that you can execute and you can complete the task to the best of your ability and not leave anything on the table. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That has been something that it wasn't until just I was reading the book and thinking about the differences between external and internal pressure, because external pressure will eventually peter you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll eventually start sputtering, and I was trying to think of another word, but yeah, you just start sputtering like one of those old trucks that runs out of gas, and then before you know it, you're just stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And if you worked hard enough at the beginning and you had enough, external motivation, you might survive.
Might be able to ride that through.
Yeah, you might be able to ride that momentum. But
Mm-hmm.
um, and I don't know, man, because that seems to make a lot of sense to me, because I don't think I ever did one thing in college. Well, I digress. There was a couple of things that I did in college, but not just solely for the fact that I wanted to see if I can do it, and it was the best thing for myself because I wanted it to be. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there was always like all these other things. It's like, oh, I'm doing this for this, right? External motivation. And maybe it was a good reason, right? But external regardless. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm taking this class because I want to challenge myself and see if I can do well in this class. Because if I can do well in this class, then that means I can take this next class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever talked to anybody that's ever said that? It's like, yo, why are you putting so much work in? Oh, because the class is hard. And I've never heard anybody say, oh, because I want to be smarter about this. I want to actually learn this topic.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, and that don't usually mean, actually here in medical school, it's kind of different. But
Yeah.
everywhere else, at least with the people that I surrounded myself with,
Mm-hmm.
they always say like, oh yeah, I just got to get it for this fucking degree, man. I just got to get a C, homie.
Mm-hmm.
Or I just got to pass, or like I need at least a B, and then I'm good. Then I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man.
Again, dude, that's why I have such an issue with the system, right? Because my my reward for getting straight A's would end up being the same reward as if I get straight C's, right? Like at the end of the day, both people get the same paper, right? Like maybe there's more opportunities that come from that outside of that, but when it comes to getting that degree, you both get the degree.
Yeah. No, yeah, I did, trust me, I want to view it from that angle as well. But now I'm gonna be devil's advocate, and I'm gonna be like, well, you know what? Why is it only the external part? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like when you view that piece of paper, it is just a fucking piece of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you put, blood, sweat, and tears into that motherfucker, nobody's gonna take that from you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And nobody can give that to you in the first place. So yeah, maybe that other, crusty fraternity dude that didn't go to class most of the time got the same piece of paper as you did, but you know damn well that you became a better person in the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, man, because you know, I've been in the position where I was that dude that I, you know, sometimes I didn't go to class just because I didn't want to,
Yeah.
and you know, I hate to say that, but you know what? Shit, I'm human too. You know, some days it was just like it was snowing and they didn't cancel classes, and I was just like, you know what, man? Actually, it was funny because those were the days I liked going to class because it was hard.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. Like when it was raining, I'd be like, all right, fuck it, let's do it, let's go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to see anything out of my glasses, but if it was like a beautiful day, I'd be like, fuck, I can go play outside. Especially when it was spring in Nebraska and
Hmm.
one of the beautiful days came around that were very rare.
Hmm. In
Yeah,
between
man.
two
But
snow days.
yeah, in between two, sandwich in between, a little bit of
Yeah.
happiness. But I guess for me, it begs the question. It's like, what would you have to do to be able to do something because you want to do it and you want to see if you can do it, you know? And I know
Hmm.
you talked about that with respect to the physical aspect of performance, right?
Hmm.
But where or how does that play in with all the other ways that you can, you know, utilize that mindset?
Hmm.
If,
And I think I do have that mindset towards other things. It's just school is just not one of them.
Mhm.
Um, like I like to do these videos, right? And I like to work on, like, take do like YouTube courses on better ways to edit and stuff like that. And I do that because I want to learn more and because I want to get better at it. You know, and not because somebody's telling me to do it. It's just because I just want to see if I can do it and see if I can get better at it. Right? That's why I like reading some types of books because it it pushes me to learn more about myself, right? It pushes me to think about things in a different way. And I do that again because I want to learn more about myself, not because I had to do it for a class, right?
Yeah,
I think most other things I can approach that way in my life, just
just not school.
just not school.
No,
And
dude,
maybe,
I mean,
and I
I
think I
can.
just messed up on what I decided to study because I came into college not really knowing what I should study or what I wanted to,
Mhm.
right? And then what I switched to isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And by that point, it's like, well, I'm not changing again.
Yeah,
You
you kind of gotta roll with it.
kind of just got to roll through the punches and finish it out. And I feel like that's what I'm doing. I'm just,
Yeah, I understand that. I think that that paints it to me a little bit better because yeah, you know, maybe you're not happy with what you're studying, and I think that's totally fine too. The fact that you can recognize that.
mm-hmm,
Um, I just also wanted to see if this was the only thing in your life that was either the norm or the exception, and you just explained it as this like school thing is the exception because you just don't, your heart's not set on it, and when your
mm-hmm,
heart's not set on something, hey, you know, who the hell is going to motivate themselves to do it? You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
So I respect that. I respect that. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And you know, if our education system was perfect, it wouldn't cost money to go to school, and you would be able to study the things that you love, right? And
mm-hmm.
create your own path, right?
Or
But
even help you find a, or help you find what it is that you love doing, right?
yeah,
But hey, it's okay. It's all part of life. I mean, you win some, you learn some.
yeah.
Um,
Even if you just learn what not to do,
yeah, exactly.
it just takes 5 years to get there.
5.5, but who's counting?
Uh, no, that's like half a decade, homie. That's scary.
Don't remind me, please.
Don't remind me. It's all right. Good thing you're so young and charming, dude.
Neither of
Imagine
those
if you were
things,
like
but
50. Shit, crazy. You're neither of those things. Shut up. No, that's cool, man. I think I don't know, man. What else do you think we should talk about? Because I feel like we hit this all pretty quick and pretty
yeah.
hard. And I mean, I feel like we got to like at least what we think, you know. I mean, who
Mm-hmm.
knows? You know, we could be like completely wrong and
Way
just
off. Yeah.
playing games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we definitely answered both questions to the best of the way we can about ourselves. Because they're definitely
Hmm.
both very subjective and very individualized questions. If you guys want to answer these questions, you're going to have to answer them yourselves. Like, we've given you a lot of insight on how we answered them, but think of this as a as version A of the test, and you have version Z, right? Like, it might be similar problems, but you're gonna have to find your own way to figure out how to do them.
Yeah, you can't cheat off your neighbor,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm slowly starting to get. At first, it was really scary to reflect because I was scared of what I was gonna find.
Fine. Yeah.
But after the first couple of videos, and we went really deep
Mm-hmm.
into our own personal lives and saw, like, at least in my opinion, I saw like the worst things that I could do
Mm-hmm.
that I did. But that doesn't have to be the way I live my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely think you're right about all of that. It's very subjective, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
that have been the things that kind of helped me, dude. That helped me to see it, to discuss it, put it to rest,
Yeah.
and move forward, and then decide, you know, I'm not where I want to be, and that's okay. And how am I going to get to where I want to be, you know? And what are
Mm-hmm.
the reasons I'm going to get there for?
Yeah.
And, you know, ideally, I'm gonna do it for me because I want to do it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not because of anything else, right? Because
No, I
yeah,
agree.
man.
I think
But
that's
yeah,
it.
I think we're good, man. I think thank you to whoever watches this. I hope you guys, you know, thought about something. You know,
Mm-hmm.
hope you guys had some thoughts provoked by this conversation. And regardless, please let us know if there's anything we can do to help. If you just want to talk, if you want to share your experience, I know
Mm-hmm.
both Irvin and I would be really excited to hear what you guys think about this. Like, what does this mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you think we're wrong about the way society has been kind of putting down or putting self-love on the people, you know. And hey,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I'm willing to have a conversation. Just because we don't agree doesn't mean we're enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just means we can have a nice constructive conversation about, you know, our differences and see what we can learn from each other. Because but yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all. Maybe eventually we'll start having some of our mentors. Maybe have Moy on here with us and see if we can
Yeah,
pick his brain, because I think everybody can benefit from hearing from Moy.
oh yeah, future Dr. Moy.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, like Yaid said, hopefully we helped you spark a new thought, or made you want to explore some things that have been on your mind. Um, like I said at the beginning of the video, subscribe to us, like the video if you liked what you heard. But more importantly, just share it with whoever you think might want to listen to this conversation as well, and that could benefit from it the same way you have. But if that's all you have, I'm done. All right. See you all again next week, and we'll see. We don't know what we're talking about yet, so stay tuned for
Yeah.
that.
We'll let you know.